Hello, mate.
Matt, how you doing?
You're all right. You look like you're doing all right there. What's that on the beach? Oh,
You know what? I finally figured out how to put these backgrounds on, and I'm kind of loving it.
what are you telling me? You're not on a beach at the moment? Oh
I'm
no.
not on the beach. I wish I was. Freaking hell. How's it going?
All right, mate. Yourself?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Freaking hell, but I'm just, you know what, Matt? I'm really happy, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this quick podcast. And I know it's very hectic over there. Yeah, so I'm super excited for us to get going.
Yeah, no, good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
Yeah. How's business going?
Well, very busy.
Yeah.
We get a lot of inquiries a lot of the time. So most people that call us up and come to us need insurance yesterday.
Yeah.
So we don't really get much time to do anything but get the jobs done. But it's good because we don't have to wait them out at stuff.
Yeah.
We move very quickly, very fast paced as a business as it is.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, Mark. So I think initially I did state that I had a few questions to ask. So should we get right ahead with it?
Yeah.
Right. So the first question was, why did you decide to start raw material cover, and what was the tipping point? And I think what I did notice is that maybe perhaps you guys started during the pandemic, or perhaps you might have started earlier on, but I'm not sure. But
Yeah, so I started the company 2 years ago. I've been working in insurance for about 10 years at that point. And the reason why I started it was that it's really difficult for companies in the waste and recycling sector to get insurance. When we say it's really difficult, what I mean by that is it's really expensive because there isn't that many insurers that want to do it. And the reason why there's not many insurers that want to do it is because there are quite a lot of claims in it. The claims can be very high in value. So it's not, an attractive proposition to an insurer who wants to insure things where every year there's very little claims and they can make profits from it. So what I found was when I was employed before starting my company, that the big recycling companies, they don't have a problem with buying insurance because they've got the money and the funds to be paying for it. However, the smaller size firm, the SME firm, they get hit with minimum premiums, and these are very hot. They're large figures for a small business. And to me, they never justified them. They didn't justify to pay what they were paying. So I decided that these would be the type of customers that we would go for, and we would try and help them out. And that's how it kind of started a couple of years ago. It was just me and on my dining room table. And now we have an office with, several staff, with about probably 300 to 400 customers. They're all the kind of small recycling firms. And our main kind of thing is just helping them pay what they should pay and not pay, over the odds because of the trade that they're doing. And then also as well, startups, so new companies enter into the arena and wanting to come into recycling and waste. They were, sometimes not getting insurance. So there's a lot of companies we speak to that come to us, find us and go, nobody says they can insure us, so we can't start this company. And we say, well, actually, we probably can. And 9 times out of 10, we can. So it's helping those kind of new ventures as well.
Perfect. So you actually do make it possible for businesses in the UK to initially begin their operation. Not just possible, but easier for them to enter the market. That is freaking amazing.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So we got one guy who came on board about a year or so ago, and he has got a piece of machinery that he put together that you put in plastics, and fuel comes out the other side. It converts it into a type of fuel. And he's running it, it's research and development. They're trying to develop this machine and trying to make something of it. He was getting quoted 25,000, 30,000 pounds a year to insure a very, very small business. And that's because none of these insurers were being explained to what this company was, because the brokers speaking to them didn't have the knowledge in the industry and those kind of bits and bobs. So we got involved, and he currently pays about £2,000, which made it then a viable business for him to be able to be and to do, because that's what he should be paying. It's one guy in a factory, in a unit. You know, it's not. It's all about the risk, and the more you pay as a premium, because there's more of a risk involved. So it's about explaining that risk, understanding that risk. You know, and that's just one of many different kind of interesting green industry type clients that come through to us for us to help out.
I mean, you know what, Matt, I'm absolutely speechless. From 30,000 a year to 2,000. That's around the 90.
I tell you another good one we've had. So we had a client come through who was a skip hire firm, okay, and they had a building that they'd just bought. And the building insurance for recycling firms are very, very expensive, purely because there's even less insurers that want to do it, and they're very high fire risks. And when they do catch on fire, they tend to burn down. So he was quoted £60,000 to insure a building, and found us and said, literally, if I have to pay £60,000, it wasn't a big building. He's like, if I have to pay £60,000 to insure a building, I'm just going to sell it because it's not viable. So we sat and spoke to this client. Any waste inside the building, they're not doing any processing. They were storing empty skips and they were painting them. So it's just storage of empty skips. So because we know what we're talking about, we then managed to get that information, speak with underwriters, and he pays about £3,000, £4,000 a year for the building, when it would have been 60, and he'd had to have sold it because it wouldn't have been financially viable to keep it up. Yeah. And again, it just falls down to, because this is all that we do all day, every day, we know what to ask and what is important and what isn't important. Yeah. Whereas, you know, yeah, a lot of the people out there, a lot of brokers out there, you know, it's no fault of their own. They just see it more as a big generic kind of thing. It's really getting down to the nitty gritty and the specifics is the important part. That's what makes our customers save, you know, probably on average 35–40% of their premiums, because we know what we're asking is the important part.
That's freaking amazing, man. So that's two cases right there where you've been able to assist two customers in saving their 93.4% and 95% in the insurance premium, which otherwise wouldn't have been possible, to be fair, which otherwise would have added another burden for the business to carry if they were to pay 60,000 a year instead of.
We also tell clients when they come through to, especially startups, they'll tell us, I want all the insurance. Quite a common conversation. They'll call up and say, I want to insure everything. And we'll say, you can't. Like the financial cost when you start out, we won't want to actively sell you everything, because you're just starting out. You need to buy the essentials. And then, you know, when you've got some cash in the bank, then start, you know, adding things on. You know, the essentials being your liability insurance, your public liability, employees liability. And that's a legal requirement. That's probably our main policy that we provide. And then once a company's been trading for a year or two and they've got some funds under their belt, you go, okay, now you can look to insure some of your machinery, which is quite a chunky cost. But now you've got the money to be able to pay for it. So it's that advice. You know, we don't want them to be burdened with paying thousands and thousands a year when they're just starting out, when naturally they need to keep those costs to a sensible level. Perfect. And just before I move on to the next question, after your conversation about Skatepayer firms, what advice would you give to any new company that is looking to enter the Skatepayer industry in terms of insurance? Insurance. A big one is the quality of the skips. Yeah. So if you're going to get into this and you're going to have your own yard and process your own waste, you know, the costs for a one-man band with a yard processing some waste, you know, you look, it's in the couple thousand for liability insurance, and anything less is wrong, because one of the big exclusions, you know, people do it online, is skips on public highways, which is near enough all the time. They're always on public highways or on a road somewhere. So it is down the case of an incident happens because your skip has been placed where it's been placed. you are the person liable, not the person, not the builder or the homeowner. It's going to fall down onto you. Now, the better skips, you know, that aren't falling apart, that aren't, you know, that are painted, that are visible, those will help because you have less incidents with those. A lot of the incidents come about with tatty old skips, you know what I mean? The quality of them does drastically help. But yeah, it's about having everything above board and being really, you know, cautious with things, because that will be the biggest, you know, the biggest claim to a skip firm that we find from a liability point of view is the skipper's done something, whether the skipper's knocked someone's car or they've been delivering it and it's, you know, fell on someone's foot. Now, these claims go into the like, they go big.
Yeah.
So, you know, from giving them out, and then on the other side, if you've got a yard,
yeah,
you need to clean. Clean yard is a happy yard. It doesn't matter what you're doing recycling. The cleaner it is, the more organised it is, the far less chance. You know, we've had a client come on board who 10 years ago had a claim because cardboard baling fell on someone. That claim's in the hundreds of thousands. And that stays on their record for quite some time. Whereas now they are very clean, everything is organised, that, you know, that's going to stop the chance of you having incidents. And that's the last thing that you want, whether that's to yourself or to your staff or members of the public or whatever it may be. You know, you want to keep things as clean, organised, and those are going to be those are the clients that don't have the claims. And those ultimately then are the ones that pay the lower premiums. You know, because a lot of insurers will go on Google Earth, they will come and look at your yard. We also do what we call surveys. So this will be a case of, depending on the size of it, someone will turn up at the yard and inspect it, you know, because the insurer wants to make sure what we've told them is all correct and it is a safe place. And then they'll give you things and say, right, you need to change this or change that, blah, blah, blah. But it's about it being, you know, the best it can be is really, you know, you don't want to claim. One member of staff hurting themselves in a skip yard is going to cost you in a claim, what it costs the insurer, I don't know, 15, 20 grand. But it's going to cost you over the next 4 or 5 years in increased premiums. You know, so it makes sense to have it and to manage it in a, you know, in a good way.
Yeah. So avoid any issues if possible, essentially. So Matthew, I've got the next question here. How do you find brokers, or how do brokers find you?
So we're very big on Google. So there's a lot of, you know, you type in recycling insurance in any different way, and we tend to pop up and be near the top. LinkedIn, those kind of things we work on with it. You know, when it comes to the type of trades that we have as well, like I say, it's a whole sector. You know, so we go from, we have a couple hundred one-man bands, waste removal guys, you know, that'll come to your nan's garden and clear it out and take it to the tip, or clear your house out when you're moving, all the way up to, you know, recycling company turning over 30, 40 million pounds a year, and everybody in between, and all the different types of trades, scrap metal merchants. We have waste brokers who don't move anything themselves. They're just hiring people to do it and being the middlemen. You know, they have a form of insurance they need called contingent liability. That's really important, which is, even though you're getting people to do this work and move things about, you don't know, even though you ask them if they're insured, you don't know if their insurance will work. You don't know if it's live, if it's correct, if it's been paid for. You wouldn't know. You just seen a piece of paper. So contingent liability kicks in, something happens, their insurance doesn't work. So your customer then comes for you to come at you. Your form of liability then, you know, protects you. So it's about finding the right insurance for the different types of waste businesses that are out there, and some are more important than others, and, you know, things that they need that others don't. So yeah, just Google really is one of our main sources, and referrals.
Perfect. All right. So the next question here, Matthew, is what are the current trends and challenges you're noticing in the industry?
Well, the commercial insurance world is going through something that's called a hard market anyway, across the whole piece. So a hard market is essentially there are more customers than there are insurers that want to give the cover out. So a soft market means that there's more insurers than there are customers, so the prices are a lot lower because everyone's trying to win the business. We've gone into a hard market due to lots of different reasons. You know, COVID is one of them as an example. It doesn't affect certain classes of business directly, but it affects it indirectly because insurance is a pool. The whole concept is it's all money together that kind of covers off things. So what we're noticing, the market's getting harder, which means the recycling insurance is getting even harder to ascertain. We're finding certain insurers are pulling out of the market. So the less insurers there are, the more smaller group of them have to take all the customers, which means they're all going to get stung with some big claims. It's inevitable, which then also means they're then going to have to raise their prices. The more insurers in there, the fairer, the easier it becomes. So, we're getting into a market where there's only a handful. But, we work with the handful that are very solid. So it's not about insuring every single risk that comes our way, unfortunately. There are some that come to us and we go, you know what? We don't think you're for us because we don't think you're for our insurers. We need to kind of protect them almost. We don't want them to have big claims because if they do, it makes it difficult for the clients that have never had a claim, because that's how it works. So it's about kind of making sure that, when going back to my, points on being a clean yard and health and safety is in place, those are the customers that you want, that are doing everything right, because those are the ones they're going to help have a solid insurer that can be around for the next 20, 30 years. I go back 10 years, there was lots of people doing recycling insurance. Now, you're talking, you could count them on two hands, which in comparison to, a builder, say, a construction, there's hundreds. So it's very, it's a difficult market, but if it's managed right, then it can, we can kind of get through. But yeah, definitely the hard market, all premiums are going up. It's inevitable. But it's how do you manage that increase, to me, and there's got to be a sensible increase. It can't just be, we had a guy call us up yesterday who told us his premium had tripled, which is unrealistic. Like, it shouldn't do that. 5%, maybe 10%, yeah, but triple is a ridiculous figure. So he'll probably become a customer today. Like, there's strong logic. When we quote him a third of what he's been quoted on his renewal, he'll become a customer. So yeah, that's really the challenges with it. It is the market itself is becoming more and more difficult. But insurance, as an insurance broker, it's all about relationships with underwriters and insurers. Our underwriters trust our judgment, they trust what we tell them, and they trust the information that we get. So, we feel quite safe from that it doesn't really affect us as it would a normal broker, because again, it all falls down to, we just do the same thing every single day, over and over and over and over. So, all our underwriters know what they're getting, and they know that we will only give them things that we approve of, and we actually know that there'll be a decent risk.
Perfect. And just moving on here, Matthew, how has the HGV driver shortage impacted business, positive or negatively?
We've definitely, so we obviously do the vehicle insurance for a lot of these firms. They'll have a fleet, fleet policy, or some of them might just have a singular wagon. We've saw clients calling up to add drivers on, which shows that they're kind of churning through staff a bit more. And then equally, we've had clients call us up and say that they are parking vehicles up and they're not going to be used for the next 3 months. So then you've got other clients that knowing that they're, so it's a bit of a mixed bag with it, really. In some aspects, we've had some clients that have just been getting more and more drivers, and then others that are going down with it. So it's kind of been a bit of a mix of it, really.
Perfect. And what does the future hold for waste insurance?
Um, I'd like to say raw material cover is the future of waste insurance. Actually, that's the honest answer with it. You know, we look to really kind of take the whole industry by storm. But what it basically needs is just to be managed well for the next 10 years. Like I say, there's less insurers. The big claims really do hit the insurers hard. You know, I was having a conversation with an underwriter the other day, and within the span of 2 weeks, they'd had a couple £1 million claims hit their desk, which can write off. You know, it's a large amount of money. So it's all about how it's managed. It's all about making sure that everyone in the chain is doing things correctly. You know, so customers, they're doing all the health and safety correctly. You know, that they're making sure that the yards are clean. They're making sure that their staff are trained. They're just doing everything that they can to mitigate the risk, making sure that the brokers like us are asking the right questions, getting the right information, and then it's making sure that the insurers are knowing what they're insuring. Because the worst thing is if they insure something that they don't understand and a claim comes, it causes issues. So it's just about everyone in the chain doing things to the highest degree that they can, really. And that should put us in a better position as we move forward, because ultimately, you know, the way we see it, waste trades won't stop. This isn't an industry that's going to slow down. If anything, this is going to accelerate and get more and more and more, you know, and in 20 years' time, there'll be, I reckon even in 10 years' time, there's going to be trades that don't exist now. There will be a thing. You know, I always say to the guys in the office, the recycling of electric car batteries, for the batteries out of the electric cars, will be a huge thing in 10, 15 years' time. You know, to get rid of a Tesla will be an immense operation to dispose of a Tesla's battery and all those kind of bits. And so, you know, it's just about management. How do we manage it? And if we all manage it well, then it can do all right. If we don't, then we'll have some problems.
I absolutely agree with you, especially with the Tesla and the EMV components. And
well, you take the average electric car, it has more power than a house a lot of the time. So that's not a small battery. It's not a small operation. It has a shelf life. It has a life of 8, 9, 10 years as well. It's still got to be disposed. You know, there's a thing when a stat I read, when a Tesla when it crashes, it can self-combust for 72 hours. It can just catch on fire, some of the older ones, because of because of the power that's in it. So it has to be in somewhere in like a quarantine area. These are all costs. These are all insurance, you know, costs that are going to come into it. And it's all these kind of bits that we're going to start doing. We're going to see, you know, people getting certain materials and being able to turn it into something else, but there will be an element of risk involved. That's going to hit the market, you know. And it's our job as brokers when we work, you know, as raw material, when we work with these new and up and coming, you know, innovative kind of recycling companies, to be able to understand them and explain them and look at the risk for them. And you know, that to me is where it's all going. It's going to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, you know, if we do our job properly, then we can have lots of exciting new green companies come about. If we don't, they're going to come up with an idea and not be able to get insured. And then that affects, you know what I mean? We're missing out then, aren't we, on some of the, you know, creative things that can.
I lost you there for a minute, Matthew.
Yeah, so I was just saying, so, you know, if we don't do what we're doing, you know, we're going to, you know, make sure these companies can get insured, then we're going to miss out on some of these creative recycling ideas and, you know, innovation that's coming through. So it's just really important that it's just managed correctly.
Perfect. And just to conclude here, actually, before I get to conclude, so the EU has stated a 2030 target for car makers to reduce emission by 55%, rising to 100% by, I think that's 2035. What do you make of that?
It's unrealistic, if I'm honest. I don't think the infrastructure, there's not enough infrastructure to be able to do those kind of numbers. It's setting a very difficult goal. Very early. It's a goal that's got to be done 100%. Do you know what I mean? It's where, we've got to move towards that kind of stuff. But to set a benchmark and a very aggressive benchmark at that, you're looking at a huge operation in infrastructure to try and get it up and running. Is it achievable? You look at, if you get rid of a lot of cars, it's still got to be replaced by a brand new car. A lot of the time, the biggest impact as an environment is being made. So there's I'm in the thought process, we should use all the cars that we've got first until they can't be used anymore, because they haven't got to be made again. If you replace every car with an electric car, you've still got to get all the bits for the electric car, and they're not going to be the most, they're eco once they're built, but they're not eco while they're being built, or not as eco as what they are when they're running. So, I think it's a very difficult target to hit, and I'd be really, really surprised if they're going to reduce it in 9 years.
Perfect. And finally, what are the main benefits of raw material cover over competitors? And I think just to begin with, the primary benefit that I've noticed during our conversation is your company's ability to save customers 93%, 95%.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those are a rarity ones. You know what I mean? Those are the best that we can do. 35%, so it's still pretty good. But actually, that's not the thing, because if it was just about the money, then that's making us like a money supermarket. We go compare, blah blah. Like, it's not about that. The saving comes from the expertise, the knowledge, and more importantly, the advice that we give, because this is an advised service. It's not a call center. It's not just about people kind of taking your details, not knowing what you're on about, and reading a script. Because we have that knowledge, that's how we help clients. They come to us throughout the year with other questions, help on things. I'm doing this, what, do you know anyone that can help me with this? It's all about the advice. And we're very big on being very quick turnaround on stuff and being very competitive on price and really making sure these people are saving money, 100%. But the thing that we are the most kind of pushing on and most proud on is the advice that we can give, and how we can help companies by, knowing what we know and not just going, and reading, everyone that works here, we go and visit, for example, scrap yards. That's part of training. When someone joins a company, I take them to one of the local scrap yards. It's a client of ours, and they spend the afternoon in the scrap yard, because it means they then understand when we're talking about bailing, when we're talking about end-of-life vehicles, they physically have touched them and know this is what we're on about. So it's all about having that kind of knowledge to be able to give the advice to our clients.
Perfect. Yeah, and maybe just to add on here, if raw material cover was ever to scale nationally within the UK, would you still be able to offer that sort of bespoke service?
Yeah, so we're national already. We work from an office based just outside of Stafford in a little town called Cannock. Everything we do is over the phone, because it has our reach. Then we've got clients at the top of Scotland, and we've got them in Wales. We've got them all dotted all around the UK. For us, when we talk about expansion internally, it's more of a international kind of model to look towards in the future. We're a bit far away from it at the moment, but eventually, it's about being that go-to name. A lot of our clients, well, all of our clients know that they can pick up the phone. We have very strict service level agreements that we have internally. So it's usually within an hour of a client asking a question, an email or a phone call, they've got the answer. So that's not that we respond and say, oh, we'll get back to you. We're really kind of big on within the hour, we're going to tell you what you want. And a lot of the time, our clients will just call up and, their account manager will be able to answer that question, within 30 seconds. It's having that ability to to be national, and having slick processes internally, but still being personal at the same time, and still kind of, you know, knowing the customers on a first name basis. You know, we don't have, the account managers will give their clients their mobile number, so they come through to a mobile phone. You know, and my guys here over here will, you know, they'll answer the phone on the day off, because it's just the company ethos. It's about being there for your clients, because that's our job. That's what we're there for, and giving them, you know, the right advice.